So you've lined up in the Dakar Rally, which is known for breaking even the best riders in the world. When you look back at your experience, what have you tested? What would have tested you the most?
Out of the 3 Dakars that I've done, I would say Dakar 21. Obviously, I had a really good finish, Dakar 21, but I broke my scaphoid on the 3rd day.
Yeah,
so I rode with 11 days with a broken scaphoid.
Yeah.
So I reckon that was what tested me the most out of anything I've done. That was one of the biggest challenges, but I managed to get it done, and with the best result at Dakar. So
yeah,
you
look back on it now, and are you surprised that you completed that, or you're just in adrenaline in the moment?
At the time, I was quite surprised, but I look back now and look at the other injuries I've had since then, and how I've been able to get through those injuries and keep riding. And I'm, now that's part and parcel of the racing I do. And the other guys that race, so everyone has some type of injury, whether it be a broken collarbone or broken ribs. So, but I was just really happy to finish that race in the first Dakar, and do it with a broken scaphoid, and have my best results.
So, it's crazy. So you've also raced in the FIM World Cup series as well. They're known to be a lot shorter and it's more explosive. How does your mindset have to shift between Dakar and that?
So the FIM Baja series is run over 8 rounds throughout the year. The races only go for 3 days, so it's 1,000 to 2,000 kilometres over 3 days. So compared to Dakar, which is 14 days and 9,500 kilometres, you've got a bit of time to make mistakes and catch up. Whereas in the Baja rallies, it's like a 2,000 kilometre motocross race, which is just full on the whole time. You can't, if you do make a mistake, you can't afford, don't have that time to catch up and rectify and catch your time up from the mistakes. So you've really got to be maybe a bit more alert on what you're doing, but you're pushing so much harder. For 8 hours, it's just as hard as you can go. So,
and that's a shorter version.
And it's a shorter version. The race only goes for 3 days. But in Dakar's the 14-day one, so completely different strategy for 2 races. Whereas at Dakar, you ease into it and you take your time, because you've got 14 days to get to that end point. But 3 days goes really quick. So you've got to. It's just a completely 2 different races. Still the same navigation and the same terrain. But different. Just
So Dakar's about speed, endurance, navigation. When did you realise that you belonged at that level?
For Dakar, we spent 3 years or 2.5 years building up and qualifying and doing a lot of World Championship races. And I think in 2020 we did the Africa Eco race, which was the original Dakar. We started in Monaco or Monte Carlo and finished in Dakar on the coast of Africa. So at the completion of that race, which had another great race there and a top 20 finish, that's when I realised that I was ready. I was ready for Dakar, and I felt comfortable. And I was competing with some of the top riders in the world. So at the completion of 2020, and that qualified me for Dakar. So I knew I was ready after that race.
Once you get past that qualifying stage, and here we go.
But you still get to. Halfway through a Dakar, you think, what am I doing here? Should I be here? You still get doubts in your mind, but it's after racing all around the world, you do become, wouldn't say complacent, but you're at that level, and you can
more
compete
comfortable. There. So reading a race map at speed is a skill on its own. How long did it take you to learn that and to master that?
Look, I started this rally racing in 2018, so I would say 2 years of solid training and a few events before I become comfortable with it. And it's still a challenge. We don't have any actual map. We work on compass headings and kilometre settings, so we can't have any GPS device or anything that gives us a reference to the map. So it is quite difficult. You still make mistakes. I've learnt now, if you make a mistake, how to rectify it. There was one time in a race in Africa where me and another guy were badly lost. We in the middle of the desert. We come across like a big semi-trailer with a missile launcher on the back, and we're at the Algerian border. So we're about 50 kilometres off track. So, and this is a thing that happens quite a lot in Dakar and the big events. If you're not comfortable with navigation, you can get lost very, quickly and easily. Yeah.
And so you could end up just following the guy in front of you, or you're obviously relying on your own map as well.
So that's a bit of a mistake too that you get caught in if you follow someone else. They make a mistake. You both lost badly. So you try and do your own thing and concentrate on that map. It's very hard when you're fatigued and you've been on the bike for 12 hours a day. Towards the end of the day, you get fatigued mentally and physically. So you do then try and follow someone or take a bit of a break. And that's when things go pear-shaped real quick. So, the navigation's a real mindset game. So, you've got to be switched on.
All right. I didn't realise that much in it.
Yeah.
So you built your foundation here in Australia first before stepping on the world stage. What was your biggest wake-up call going worldwide?
I would say the level of competition is just above anything else. Obviously, when you're racing on world championships, and the commitment required. It was just it's next level. There's no race, I suppose, anywhere in the world like Dakar or the rally, and we don't have rally racing in Australia. We have 1 or 2 events a year, which are very laid back. So the level of commitment required, the terrain is just, you might have seen the videos and SBS footage of Dakar with the sand dunes and the rocks. So everything like that is just next level, which you can't train for in Australia. You can't replicate what you're gonna.
Just got to do it.
You just get over there and do it. And but it's a big wake up call for your first time over there.
That's good insight. In a sport that just one mistake could bring you undone completely, how do you manage that?
Look, a lot of training goes into it. You train and try and replicate the hours and kilometres you're going to do on the bike. But the risks, I think nearly every Dakar rider, they're prepared to take it and every time you put your helmet on, there's a pretty good chance you're going to have a bad accident that day. Every Dakar, there's usually one death, a couple of deaths. I've encountered a couple of races where I've had friends die. So it's, you've got to learn to be able to switch off. It's a thing that took me a couple of years. I was just going to say I was fortunate, but I was unfortunate enough to have a very bad accident at the start in my first ever rally overseas, which put me in hospital for a month overseas, and I was flown back to Australia and put in a hospital here for a month. And that was quite a serious accident. So that was a real wake-up call for me, and that taught me how to, to be able to come back from that and say, right, if you sort of got to switch off, and if you're not prepared to take these risks where your life and limbs are on the line, I don't think you should be doing. You shouldn't be racing it.
It's not for just anyone.
No, you've got to be prepared, and especially at Dakar. I'm a mid-pack rider at Dakar. You're 50 to 60 sort of rider. And I'm riding at 90% all the time, and I'm taking big risks, life-threatening risks, 14 days in a row, and thinking at the end of the race, or the end of the day, shit, I'm not going to do that tomorrow. That was, I nearly had a big crash today, and I've had a lot of big crashes, and that's the reason why, because you can't be afraid you can't have that thought in your mind, what happens if I crash? Well, you shouldn't be there if you're thinking that. I don't think you should be doing it.
Wow. That's the physical side of Dakar and the racing that you do is quite obvious, but the mental side, how do you prepare and train for that?
It's quite hard. So Dakar is a real mind game. The physical stuff is next level, but the mental game is the thing you've got to be prepared for. So we have like 4 a.m. starts in the morning when it's -3 degrees, and we might ride 300 or 400 kilometres in the dark in freezing cold conditions before we get to the start of the stage. So I train over here for things like that. In the middle of winter, I'll get up and ride in the rain in the morning, just on the road, just so everything that you do in a race sort of becomes automatic. You're not getting up thinking, oh shit, it's raining, it's cold. It's just got to be like a natural thing. Same as riding in the sand and the dunes. You pick the hardest things you can do over here, so you're not panicking when you see it over there. It's a real mental game over there. So same as what I touched on before about the injuries too. You just got to train your mind not to worry about things. Good example of that is I hit 2 kangaroos a couple of years ago before Dakar at 180 kilometres an hour on a big adventure bike, and split the bike in half, and smashed myself up quite bad, punctured lungs, broken collarbones. And you've got to train your mind to go, well, if I'm going to hit them at 60 kilometres an hour, I might as well hit a kangaroo at 180 kilometres an hour.
So just hold it.
And and next time you get on a bike, you don't think about what's happened. You be prepared to have that. If that's going to happen again, it's going to happen. So,
far out, yeah. You've had plenty of setbacks along the way. Which one, probably looking back now, challenged you the most, and what did it change about you?
Look, I think there's two big ones. Obviously, my accident in Hellers in 2018, which laid me up for quite a while.
Yep.
That changed a lot about. I knew what people were supporting me when I got back here, because I had a lengthy hospital stay and I had some quite serious injuries.
Yep.
So it sort of, I shouldn't say weeded out, but I knew who I had support from.
Yeah, who you had in your corner.
Yeah, and then I had another in the 2004 World Baja Championships. I had the Series 1, with 2 rounds to go. After 6 rounds, I only had to finish the last 2 races. And 2 days before I flew to Portugal, I had a training accident here and snapped my quadricep tendon and lost the use of my left leg. It was misdiagnosed, so I still flew to Portugal, tried to get on a bike. I couldn't operate my left leg.
Yep.
Flew home, I had surgery straight away. And I thought that would change my mindset a little bit about training before, reducing the risk before you go somewhere.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah, but it can't. I learnt that you can't let an accident like that affect what you're going to do, because you need to go into a race prepared and fresh and, not have too much time off the bike. So,
So put the physical aside so that the mental's
and a lot of my injuries, I think now I've got 36 titanium parts in my body. So I've got to put a lot of that aside and just don't think about the accidents and injuries I've had in the steel plates. And I've had both knees fully replaced, so both knees are fully titanium joints. So I've got to put all that aside and not think about, when I'm on the bike, worry about those implants or things that could go wrong. So,
right. So it's quite obvious after our chat and what you see in that, like, preparing for Dakar takes a lot physically, mentally, financially as well. In the quieter moments, what sort of keeps you driving to work towards that?
Oh, look, I think from day one when we started this, my wife was so supportive. So she's travelled the world with me to as many races as she can.
Yep.
Never, even with the accidents, hospital stays, she's never been negative. She's always said, "Yep, let's do the next one. Let's do it." My 2 kids have been there for me, so they drive. They're probably the biggest things that drive me. I've got a couple of really good sponsors that have been on board. Speed Cafe have been with me for a long time. Krieger Australia. So having people that support you is the main thing that drives me. Knowing that you've got someone in your corner if you need them.
Supporting.
Yeah, but my wife, 100% all the time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So the racing that you do can be pretty lonely. You spend hours and hours on the bike, just yourself and your own thoughts. What have you learnt about yourself in those sort of moments?
Yeah, you're pretty isolated. If you ride by yourself in a Dakar stage, 800 kilometres, you mightn't see anyone or 1 or 2 riders. So, and you have a lot of obstacles to overcome. So, I've learnt that I can push beyond my limits. And if things go wrong, I've learned that how to fix things, or even training out in the middle of the desert when things have gone wrong and I've had to sleep by my bike, isolated. I've learnt that I can push myself and train my mind how to do things. It's amazing what you can actually do or make yourself do if you need to do it.
It's the only option.
And a lot of the time it's been the only option. You do have the option in races where you can call for assistance. They can send a helicopter if you're stuck, but I've learnt that unless it's a life-threatening injury, and I have had to call before when I've had punctured lungs, unless I'm on the verge of dying, I'll work it out, and that's one thing that took me a bit of time to do, but and I've learnt that how far you can push your body, and that's why I do this, because I'm trying to see what it'll take to break me. And I'm still trying to, I've been broken a few times, but I've always managed to bounce back. So I like to be able to see how far I can push myself.
Yep. Yeah, wow, so mentally strong.
Yeah.
At that level, the bike itself means so much. How hands-on are you heading into a campaign, sort of, or pre and post campaign?
So previously, up until 2025, I had mechanics. I was on a race team. So I had access to mechanics. You'd get off your bike. The bike would be fully prepared before the start of the race.
Yep.
But in Dakar 25, I went in the original board motorhole class, unsupported.
Yeah, right.
So I prepared the bike here myself. I spent 8 months stripping a bike down, pulling it apart, putting it back together, becoming familiar with the bike.
Yep.
So aside from having the mechanics, I've always worked, the training bikes I prepare myself. And now I build, or here in our business here, we build a lot of race and rally bikes for guys, based on what we've been doing. So I'm fairly hands-on with that. And I like to be, because the Africa Eco Race 2020, I broke down in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I had a failed fuel pump in 48-degree heat in the middle of the Sahara. And I was green at that stage. I hadn't done a lot on the bike, so I had to work out how to fix that bike and get it going.
Yep. And after that moment,
after 2 hours, I worked it out. But yeah, it was.
And from that moment, you're like, I'm not getting stuck here again.
It was a hard 2 hours. So after that, I thought I need to, find out a bit more about the bikes and how they work.
So from local racing to being on the world stage, when you look back at your career, what's the moment that you're genuinely proud of?
I'd have to say Dakar 21. The best finish that I've had there. That was a really good. It was the middle of COVID, so you sort of didn't feel you didn't have the big crowd or anything there.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I'd say I was genuinely proud of that. And despite in the World Baja Champs, I'd missed the last 2 rounds, I still come runner-up.
But you had 6 of them in the bag already.
6 of them in the bag.
Yep.
End up coming second, and in the World Cup in the veterans class, and still managed 5th overall in the pro class for the 450s. So that I was pretty proud of that achievement too. That was something that it was a big commitment. Every month, 66 hours on a plane to a different country, and that was a fairly big year for us.
Yeah, very drawn out.
Yeah, I'd be home for 2 or 3 weeks training, and then back on a plane, fly 3 or 4 flights, hire a car, drive 4 or 5 hours, race for 3 days, fly home.
Yeah, so the race really feels like it's a small portion.
It was, and it's still, even though I was hurt, my wife and I and the Speed Cafe guy from Speed Cafe, we still went to Dubai for the last round and we watched, and that was the final and the presentation round. So it was good to be there, and pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's
that result. Well, I should say I'm not happy because I come second, but I've still got the chance. I'd like to go back and win that series.
Couple of fun ones now. So after an absolute brutal round, 12, 14 hours on the bike, what's the first thing you're grabbing for? Food, water, ice bath, or
food? Food, because you don't get a lot of time to sleep at Dakar or eat. So the minute you get off the bike, you eat as much as you can. Then you may have to work on the bike, depending if you've got mechanics or not. Dakar 25. I was averaging 3 or 4 hours sleep per night.
And
backing up. So foods are... For Dakar 21, I think I lost 11 kilos over... And the same as Africa Eco Race. I lost a lot of weight. So food now is the big thing. I just... you don't eat during the day. You might, as you stop at a fuel stop, you might be jamming a protein bar down and filling up at the same time, and then back on the bike. So, definitely food.
If you had to compete professionally in any other sport for a year, what are you choosing?
That's a bit of a tough one. I mean,
so caught up with what
so if I was a bit younger and didn't be full of titanium, I would have loved. I did a little bit of martial arts training when I was younger, so something along those lines, something with martial arts. I like watching the UFC. I don't think I'd hold together real well in a UFC fight, but I'd like to think something along the martial arts sort of line.
Yeah, cool. Yep. One we ask everyone: 3 dinner guests, dead or alive. Who have you got at the table?
It's pretty easy for me. Toby Price. Always, Toby's probably 20 years younger than me, but I've always looked up to him. Had some great advice from him. Michael Jordan. I'm a bit of a basketball fan. And Mike Tyson.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so Toby Price, Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson.
That'd definitely interesting.
Yeah, I'd be a pretty cool dinner.
Yeah, it's all done. All the rounds are finished. What do you hope people would say about you as a rider and as a person?
I think this is a general thing from rally riders, and especially guys who compete in Dakar.
Yep.
We're not real worried about what people think of us.
Mm-hmm.
Dakar is a different sport from anything else, where nobody thinks they're better than anyone else. The best in the world will help the guys coming last.
Yeah, right.
There's no pecking order that anyone thinks are more
ego.
important. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no egos.
Yep.
And I think that's a pretty important thing. So maybe the only people I'm trying to put a bit of example out to is my kids, or
Mm-hmm.
my kids and my family,
Yep.
and hope that they see me as someone who's never given up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not real concerned what people think of me. Is I've got a job to do, race bikes, and yeah.
Yep. As we finish up now, what sort of next on the cards for you? What do you got coming up sort of in the next months or the next year or so?
So in 2 weeks' time, I'm off to Rome,
Mm-hmm.
riding from Rome to Istanbul, taking a group of guys who help me out and sponsor me.
Yeah, cool.
So we've mapped out a route from Rome through to Istanbul, following Julius Caesar's trail.
Yeah, wow.
So that'll be a good 3 or 4 weeks away.
Yep.
And then when I get back, we'll sort of got a few things in the pipeline now for Dakar 27,
mm-hmm.
And some races towards the end of the year.
Yep.
So yeah, we're hoping to be back at Dakar 27.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, awesome.
We're preparing for it already. We've been training. So the bike time, we've just got to pull a few things together and
make it happen.
Yeah, we'll be back there.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
Cool.
All the best with it,
Thank you.
and hope to see you at Dakar 27.
Yep.
Cheers.
Great.